Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of The Fix. This is the third episode. Today we're taking a look at a photo called the Haifoss Waterfall in Iceland. Not a very creative name. I probably could have put some more thought into that one, but we're going to roll with it anyways. If this is your first time here, or you stumbled across this on YouTube or something like that, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and what I do, what this is all about. So my name is Ben Campbell. I have a site called findawayphotography.com, and on my website every week I post a new photo and tell the kind of the story about it, and kind of what took me to that photo and what took me to that area, and that kind of thing. And the fix is what you're watching now, and this is a video series where I go back into some of those old photos of the week and I dig them up and show you how I edited them from start to finish. From what came out of the camera to what you see as the final photo. So this is, that's what this is all about. So we'll dig into this one here. We'll take a quick look at it. I'll tell you what it's all about. So this last summer I went to Iceland with a friend, Ryan, and we kind of spent about 2 weeks traveling around the country and saw a lot of waterfalls in that time. And this is one of those. So we're kind of driving in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and we knew that there was supposed to be a waterfall around there. All we could see for endless miles in every direction was this totally flat landscape. There's no way that we were expecting to see a waterfall anywhere. And it's a really rough four-wheel drive track, and we're getting kind of close to giving up and not really sure where we're going. And all of a sudden, we go over the top of a hill and we see this landscape just absolutely drop in front of us. And there's this huge gorge. And that's what the waterfall is pouring into. And you couldn't see it for a long ways around because everything just looks completely flat. And then as soon as you see it, it's just very, very incredible. So this one is called Haifoss. And there's another small one to the right of it. And when I say small, it's not small at all. It's very massive, but a little bit smaller than Haifoss itself. And so that's what it is. So we're standing on the opposite side of the gorge, kind of zoomed in to show some details in the rocks and the landscape and that kind of thing. So the bottom of the waterfall still is down below. You can see the mist spraying up and that kind of thing. But I thought this was kind of a cool perspective and shows some of the power of the water and that kind of thing. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. So before I begin, when I look at a photo like this, maybe what we'll do is I'll just show you kind of the before and after. So we'll go into the develop module. I just hit D on my keyboard. I press Y. We're going to get a comparison. So that's what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. So I'm going to show you how we go from before to what we have now. And when I looked at this one, it was kind of, Iceland has all those kind of deep earthy colors, the greens and the blacks and the reds and the oranges, and of course it seems like you always have those dramatic skies over Iceland, with the impending rain that it always feels like is right around the corner. And so with this photo, that's kind of what I was trying to bring out. So bringing out those dark colors, highlighting the center. Obviously the waterfall is going to be the main feature of it, right down the middle of the photo. And so that's kind of the aim for this one. So we're going to be looking to bring out those dark colors and make the center pop a little bit. Kind of a pretty heavy vignetting around the outside to darken those corners and draw your attention to the middle. And so with that, let's get into it. So I'm going to hop back to the library. We're going to I'm going to save the quick snapshot of this one. So these are all the steps that it took before to get there. If you're ever wondering what I do when I do these, how I do kind of the before and afters and do these videos, I take a quick snapshot just like that. Don't even need to name it. And now I can always go back to this version of the photo. So what I'll do now is just simply reset it. And we'll get into how I go from this to what we had before as the finished photo. So I'm going to close this one, make the window nice and big, show as much as the photo as we can. And first thing is probably a little bit of a crop. You can see the horizon is quite crooked, so we're going to straighten that up. My favorite way to do that is right here. This little ruler button, it kind of glows when you hover over it like a little light bulb. You click that, you start and I'm going to click and hold down and drag across the horizon, and that's going to automatically straighten it. So somewhere like this, click and hold, try to do the longest line as you can. So that's kind of the horizon there. It starts to rise up here, so I'm going to drop it down a bit, something like that, and then just use this line to compare. Actually, I think let's do something like that, and that's going to automatically make what I just drew as the line as perfectly horizontal. And now I'm going to bring this in a little bit, and I think that's good like that. Let's see, so that's before and after. Haven't really done anything because it shows the crop as before, so that was a little bit pointless. And I'm going to bring this one in just a bit more. Done. So that's the crop. I can go back and change that later if we need to, but we'll use that for now. I also noticed a few dust spots. So there's one dust spot right there. And so I'm going to use this little spot removal tool. And we're going to go, let's say, we'll try healing. See what that does first. Use the square brackets to resize this bigger and smaller. And I think something like that. Click and see what that does. Pretty good. And that's all it is to it with the spot removal tool. You can click clone or heal, just kind of depending on the situation, which one works better. Change your size, change the feather. I usually go feather very, very small. I just want that really hard line around the outside. And then I go opacity 100. And let's see, while we're here, I'll exit out of this one. And we'll just take a quick scan, see if there's any more. They really show up in the sky, so that's mostly where I'm looking. There's one there. Same thing. And let Lightroom kind of figure out where to crop from, or where to pull that sample from. And that looks pretty good. Just another quick tour over to the right, and another one there. Good enough. They also have a pretty cool tool down here. I'll zoom out. We'll go back into spot removal, and you can actually click down on the bottom, this little check mark here. That does a pretty good job of trying to show you where those spots are. It looks like the sky is pretty clean. I'll just show you. So if I delete this one, no, it doesn't really show up. But sometimes it works really well depending on, maybe if I crank that up. No, not really. In certain cases where it's just a clear blue sky or something, those spots really show up well when you use that. But yeah, let's see, go back in there. Good enough. Alright, so now I'm starting with a pretty clean slate, got the horizon straightened, I got our crop figured out. So we'll start digging into making some changes here. I'm going to leave the white balance for now. It looks pretty good straight out of the camera. It is a little bit dark, especially looking at the histogram. Everything's pushed a little bit to the left. We've got all these dark colors down here. So I'm going to push it a little bit back to the right and brighten that photo up. The contrast is always a little bit of a, not really sure which way to go with it, so you just kind of feel it out. I think a little bit added, not much though. Highlights, I'm going to drop that down to bring those details back out in the sky, and then lift up the shadows so you can see some details in the rocks. Something like that I think looks pretty good. And whites, so let's try moving that to the right a little bit. Same with blacks, go left. Check back to where we're going, and that already looks a lot better. You can just bringing out all those colors, and it's always surprising how much more detail you can bring out of these raw files than you think. It seems like that's super dark and not much color, and then just a little bit of tweaking and you already get something a lot better. And let's bring out a bit of clarity in this one as well. Ones with all these features and details in the rocks and the sky. Some clarity goes a long ways and makes it look really good. And bringing out those earthy colors like we talked about before. Okay. I think something like that, maybe a maybe just a bit of saturation. I don't think there's much I need to do in the tone curve. I'm pretty happy with the way that the lighting and everything looks in there. I do always like to play with the saturation in this HSL panel. You just have so much more control over the colors. So just out of curiosity, what does a bit of green do? Yeah, a bit of yellow. Most of that's actually yellow. It's always the stuff you think it's green, but it's actually seems to be more yellow than you think. And that might be about it. I think color's looking pretty good on that one. Some orange maybe in those rocks. Down below you can see that it kind of pops out. So let's do a bit of that as well. I think the luminance and everything, I'm pretty happy with the way that's sitting, so we're going to leave that for now. Split toning, I don't think that's really necessary in that one. I'll show you a photo at some point with some split toning and where that comes in handy, but we'll skip over it for now. And some sharpening. So I think, it's things like these rocks and that we want sharpened. So I'll pop into here. And I've gone through this in some of the older photos, or the last episodes of the fix, so I'm just going to cruise through it a little bit quickly here. With all those fine details, we'll bring up the details a bit and make those pop out. Something like that maybe. And then we'll pop back out, do our masking, make sure that we're not really sharpening the sky if we don't have to. So we'll get those details out, and you can see everything that's white. We're just kind of is mostly in the rocks and a little bit of these bigger edges there. So one more time, that's what our mask will look like for this one. I think that's pretty good. We've lost most of the sky, which is good. We didn't want to sharpen that anyways. And then we'll hop in here. There's hardly any noise, but just for the fun of it, I always put a little bit in there. And the rest of that, there's, not much noise to deal with, so I'm not even going to get into it. We'll go remove chromatic aberration just for fun. And let's see. This one is always kind of a test. See what I prefer. This one, I kind of like the darker shades and everything of it not being corrected, so we're just going to leave it like that. And all of the transformations and everything looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to skip that as well. And we'll do some vignetting. So this is the best way that I've always found to really draw your attention away from the edges right to the center. And it kind of gives that that pretty cool look to it that I'm always after. So let's try something like that maybe. We'll go pretty dark on this one. And I'm going to just bring that midpoint out just a bit. Good enough. And everything else I'm pretty happy with. So that is the start. Still looks a little bit darker than I'd want, so I'm going to go back up, start at the top, and just play around with just a couple of these. Contrast I like, because it does bring out all those kind of dark shades and everything. Just out of curiosity, let's see what... So I don't like going warmer, it just looks like it's kind of overcooked. But a little bit lighter to bring a bit of blue into the clouds. Something like that, I think. That looks pretty good. So I've got, instead of kind of that orange, red kind of stuff going on there, the warmer colors, I kind of like that gray, almost a blue, and then it makes the water look a bit more natural as well instead of that kind of orangey. So let's do that for white balance. I like that. And let's just go a little bit more on exposure, just to bring out a bit of brightness. Pretty good. Just another really quick play with these ones. This is what I do a lot. It's kind of an iterative process. You kind of do one pass over the photo, and then you go back and retweak a couple of parts, and then that changes some other things. So you kind of go back and forth, and at some point you have to call it quits and just be happy with it. But for the first few times, it's nice to go back and tweak again until you get something that you're happy with. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. So I'll leave it at that, and then I'm going to go in and do some local adjustments. So the focus of this one is really that middle. So I want to make that middle pop a little bit more if I can. And you know, we went around and darkened all the edges and the corners and everything, but it also darkened quite a bit at the bottom, and I want to be able to see all the detail down there. So I'm going to throw a quick radio filter on there. Let's say something like that. Reset this. Custom. I'm going to say this is a preset that I use all the time that I made called Extra Pop, and it's always a good starting spot for, you can see as I move it around, just literally just brings out that extra pop in the photo. So I'm going to start maybe something like that and bring that up a bit, and then just a bit more exposure. So just kind of fine tuning it, something like that. Let's see that on and off. And that's all it's doing, is just a little subtle adjustment in there to kind of bring more attention to the middle. Good enough. And let's do another one just for this whole kind of plateau area. So starting in the middle of the waterfall there, stretching across, bring out a bit more color and that kind of thing in there. So reset again, go back to Extra Pop, see if that gets us where we're looking to go. I think it does. Brings out all those details in this rock face here that are pretty incredible. You can actually see, just zoom in really quick, you can see these vertical ones are called basalt columns, and it's something to do with volcanic activity and everything, and you see them quite a bit through Iceland. And it's pretty cool to see them here in all their detail, all the layers and everything, and all the way through that rock face. Pretty cool. And there's a few waterfalls that you can go to, and the whole rock face behind it is these basalt columns, and it's pretty incredible. I do have some photos on my Iceland trip report. If you haven't been there yet, make sure you check that out. And hopefully some of those photos will find their way into the photos of the week coming up pretty soon. So let's see, where are we? Alright, I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking. I'm just going to drop the contrast just a little bit. I'm also, just out of curiosity, going to try, let's do this one and put a bit of effort into seeing what we can do with the sky. So I'll drag that down. So that's pretty much just showing what the sky is going to be. And let's see, I'll reset this. And this one we're just going to go in and kind of fine tune by hand and see what looks good. Trying to bring out those dark kind of shades in the clouds and make everything pop and bring out some details. So this one is just kind of trial and error, see what looks good. I think a little bit more contrast in there looks good. Actually want to bring up the highlights just a bit. Gives the kind of that bright and dark contrast in here. So, but bringing up the highlights, I mean. And shadows we'll just bring a little bit down a bit. Maybe some clarity in the sky, that always looks pretty good. Don't want to go too far with it or anything, but a little bit goes a long ways. Now the sky is actually a good place to experiment decreasing clarity and kind of giving that blurry effect of you don't want tons of hard edges or anything in the skies. It seems like that always looks a little bit wonky, so actually bringing down and softening those edges will sometimes look good. And maybe I'll try that in this case. Bit of saturation. Let's just go up a little bit with that one. So, before and after, and I'm going to finish with that one. So what we're at so far. What else do we have to do? Let's see. How are these filters made out so far? So, turn all the filters on and off just to see the difference and see if there's anything else that needs it. I do think a little bit more detail down in here would be good. So, I'm going to make one more. Let's go new one. One more, and I'm just going to go straight across the whole bottom of the photo. And what I'll do, so that's Extra Pop. And because I've done so much in the center part, I'm actually going to brush that out. I'm going to click on the brush, and this is just going to affect the part of, so you can see this is the radio filter that I've got right now. Everything that's red is what's being affected. So now inside of that radio filter, I've clicked the brush, and I'm just going to brush out this middle section. So right now if I brush, I'm adding to it. If I hold down the Option key on the keyboard, that's actually going to remove it. So I'm just going to do a really quick brush just in that middle section. Just drop out a little bit of that. Just don't want to go too far overboard, but then I still have the effect just a little bit on the outsides. So really subtle adjustments and everything here, but when you pile up all the little subtle adjustments together, it makes a big impact on the entire photo. So that's what we're looking at. I'm just going to check my crop line one more time. Seems like kind of want it there. So I'm just looking at the verticals, trying to make sure that, you know, that's going to look a little bit funny if it's not vertical. So something like that, I think makes it look pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that one. So we'll just hop back into the library. Oh, sorry, didn't want to do that. I want to go back to the develop module. We're going to open this side panel up. I'm going to say one more snapshot. So this is the after. And this is what I had edited previously. So we'll see how close we got. So you can see my previous edit was a little bit warmer and that kind of thing. This is the one that we just did. Kind of has those cool tones in it. So depending on the day and what we're doing, you kind of get different results. But that's kind of how I look at a photo like this, trying to just figure out what is the main focus of the photo that I want to bring out, figure out how I can do that, figure out what colors, and if I'm going for a darker look or a lighter look, that kind of thing. So that's about it. So this is the Haifoss Waterfall in Iceland, the Fix episode 3, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.